And God said, let the earth bring forth the living creature after his kind, cattle and creeping thing and beast of the earth after his kind, and it was so. And God made the beast of the earth after his kind, and the cattle after their kind, and everything that creepeth upon the earth after his kind. And God saw that it was good. And God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle of all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him, male and female created he them. And God blessed them, and God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. And God says, behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree in which is the fruit of the tree yielding seed, to you it shall be for meat. I'm going to stop reading right there. That is Genesis chapter 1, verses 24 down through verse 29 there, and it talks about how that God created man in his own image. Well, good morning, good Sunday morning, I should say. I'm your pastor, Raymond Steinkamp, and this is another video from Ferry Baptist Church for our Sunday morning service. We decided not to hold service this morning because we had so many people out of town traveling that wouldn't be profitable to open up the church and have the air conditioning running and things such as this. So I hope you can pick up this video. Do want to apologize because I had made a video this past Wednesday, but I could not get it to upload. I lost it somewhere. So hopefully I'll get this video up this morning. Don't know how much time I've got. It's showing me only 16 minutes of my memory, and I'm trying to get my memory unloaded, but I'm not having very much success with that. So this sermon's going to go rather quick this morning. We will be meeting, of course, next Sunday at the church at 11 a.m. and of course I'll try to post another Wednesday night service. We've been moving all weekend. Took the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday off, and been moved 2 households, moved ours and moved my son, so rather tired from all of that, but do want to take time here for the Word of God and creation. I'm here at my dad's place, and it kind of looks kind of rustic out here. The birds are chirping in the background, and it's just wonderful to see all of God's creation. And had an instance that came up over the weekend here that I did want to talk about because it was an opportunity to witness and to talk to people and to talk about things of the Bible, and you'll be surprised how things can happen. And it goes along with the creation of God and how man is created in the image of God. And we had a cat that we've only had a short time, somewhat of a kitten, not a little small kitten, about a year old, but it got injured, and they were going to have to amputate its paw, and it was going to cost upwards of $1,000, and so we just made the decision to have the cat put to sleep. And I had a couple people get kind of upset with me about that because we made that kind of a decision there. But, the reason we made it is because me and my wife were taking care of my dad, and then we would have the unpacking of moving and stuff, and you see the boxes behind me here, some of the things, and we moved 21 years worth of living in one place, so you accumulate a lot of stuff. But we would have that, and then an injured cat that we had to take care of for months and nurse back, and it was just too much for my wife. I just knew it would be, so we made the decision to put the cat down. And I had a conversation with someone about that at first they were a little upset, but then they kind of understood a little later on. And we had the conversation about how that animals and human beings are different. God did create animals, and we're to respect their lives, and we're to treat them ethically, but He also gave them for meat here, for many of them, such as the cattle, and who doesn't love a good steak? And we have the fish that we eat, and the pigs that we eat, and things such as that. So we do have to understand that animals are different than human beings, but it is the human being that God said He made in His own image. It's the man and the woman, the male and the female, created He in the image of God. And when He talks about the image of God, He's not talking about the outward image. He's talking about the inward person there, the person that thinks and loves and reasons and gets angry and is enjoys things and feels happy and sad and all kinds of different things that we experience. But the thing is that we are the reflection of God here. I mean, it's something very important we need to realize as human beings. And there's a difference between us and animals. My dad had a leg amputated, and we make sure to try to take care of him. And yes, it costs thousands upon thousands of dollars. And yes, he'll need to be taken care of for the rest of his life, and help with things and all. And you see, there's a big difference between the way we do an animal and the way we do a human being, because the life of the human being is so much more valuable. It's has a higher value to it, because we are created in the image of God. And having this conversation, this person said, I realize that now. I never thought about that. But why is it that we do treat animals as though they are equal to human beings? And part of the reason of that is because we have been so ingrained, brainwashed in evolution. I read an article just the other day on Fox News. And says that the scientists now know for certainty that dinosaurs were wiped out by an asteroid. So they said for certainty, they knew that it was, no doubt left in your mind. But then you go and read the article there, and it talks about how scientists were doing these studies to see what the effects of an asteroid would be, and see if it really would wipe out the dinosaurs. And they were in the midst of this study here, so it was not a foregone conclusion in this. It was just a study that they were thinking, and they assumed they were going to arrive at this conclusion. But the thing is that it was not a settled thing. But they made you, by the title of the article, think that it was a settled thing in this. And even with the evolution and talking about dinosaurs and things, just about every article that you read up on, it starts out saying, well, millions of years ago. Well, that's an assumption there, because there are cave drawings with dinosaurs and human beings in the same time sphere as they are hunting the dinosaurs, and dinosaurs attacking maybe and doing damage and stuff. Even the Bible talks about leviathans and other great animals like that we can get the idea that humans and dinosaurs coexisted possibly up to the flood. Noah. So, but we've been so ingrained by this, and we've been so taught by this, that we're nothing more than animals, that we all evolved. It's from the goo to you via the zoo. In other words, you went from this bacterial goo that was struck by lightning that gave life, and we evolved from that, from highly bacteria, that we're just highly evolved bacteria, that we evolved from that into the animals that we see, and into the human beings that we are today, and that we're nothing more than animals. And but why is any of this important? Why should we address this? Why should we challenge this and all? Well, because of what we see going on in the world today. I just want to use the example of Black Lives Matter. I like what Dr. James White says about that. The problem with this whole thing is the part that says it matters. How can you say anything matters if you believe that we're nothing but evolutionary process here, the results of that evolutionary process, that we're nothing more than animals. We should live out by our basic instincts. What value does our life have if we're nothing more than a evolution, results of evolutionary process? You cannot say any life matters. You can't say black lives matters. You can't say white lives matter. You can't say that red lives matter or yellow lives matter or any skin color, because we're just part of the evolutionary process. And if you go back and study a little bit about evolution, you will find out that it is thought that the people of color are the lower parts of the evolution, and that the people that are white are the higher parts. That we're what come out of that, and we're supposed to be better. Now, I don't agree with that. I'm just telling you that's what evolution teaches there. And it gives no value to human life. You see, human life has value, and a higher value than the animal life. It is because that we are made in the image of God. That's what gives us value, and we should value life. Why do you think I work at a nursing home? Why do you think that we should take care of the elderly? Some want to practice this euthanasia here about of the elderly. Once you get so old and get so sick that you just put them down, just basically like what we do a cat. And if you're an evolutionist and believe in that, then you might as well just say we do that. Human life has no more value than the animal life. But you see, history dictates and history shows that when Christianity comes into a culture there, it influences that culture in such a way that they begin to care for the weak and the elderly because they see the value of human life. One of the things that in the spread of Christianity that surprised so many people is that used to, when an invading army would come into a village or to a place, people would flee, and they would leave the women, the children, or the sickly, the elderly, anybody behind that couldn't fend for themselves. They were left, and everybody run off to save their own lives. But they found that when Christianity was there, that many times the Christians would stay back and care for the sick and the elderly and the helpless there. And it shows that throughout history because we see the value of human life there, because we are made in the image of God. But you can't say any lives matter. And if you want to know what's going on in our culture, many times why it is we see things such as Black Lives Matter, why it is we see the hate, why we see the thing, it's because we're teaching our children they're nothing more than animals. They have no intrinsic value. They have no purpose in life, because we're just products of evolutionary process there, that even our thoughts is nothing more than chemical reaction, that fizzing there, just like you have a Coca-Cola and you pour it into the glass and it fizzes up there and all. That's what they're telling you your very thoughts are. But in that, you have no rights and wrongs. You have no universal law or objective law that is outside of all of us, that applies to all of us. It's just whoever thinks what is right in their own eyes. And that's what we see today when we see the movement of homosexuality and the gay marriage and things such as this. Who's to say what is right and what is wrong if we do not have a lawgiver, if we do not have God, the Creator, that tells us as His creation how we should live and how we should treat one another? You don't have all of that. It's just up for debate. Why it is that, they want to change our Constitution and change our entire government and our way of life here, because our Constitution and ways of government and things were founded on Christian principles. It was founded from the Bible to have us to go by the law of God. And here again, for you Christians out there, I want you to realize that we don't do away with the law of God just because we become Christians. This doesn't mean we live in a lawless society. We establish the law, is what Paul says. We give it validity there. Not only can Christians desire to follow it, see, non-Christians have no desire of it. The Bible even tells us that the carnal mind is not subject to the law of God, and neither indeed can be. in any way because we rebel against God. And yes, the lost man responds to God. He responds to God in rebellion. He says, "No, God, I'll live how I want to live. No, God, I will not live in a monogamous relationship of someone of the opposite sex. I'm going to live in any relationship I want with any sex. I'm going to have sex outside of marriage. I'm going to claim to be something that you did not create me to be. I may be a male, but I'm going to claim to be a female, or I'm going to be claimed to be no gender whatsoever, or I'm just going to do whatever my base desire is in my heart because I'm nothing more than an animal." And they rebel against God. And you see, this is what we see: a culture, a world, a nation in rebellion against God. And I want us to realize we need to take the law of God out here. We need to go out here and says, our Creator has said this is how you ought to live. And when He says thou shalt not, He means thou shalt not. And when He says thou shalt have no other gods before me, that includes yourself. That includes you. You see, God puts high value on life there. It has intrinsic value because we are the creation of God, created in the image of God. And then He says we're to go forth and be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. Not only are we to bring forth children in a society, in a culture, in a framework of a family there, teaching them obedience and teaching them to honor God and honor their mother and their father, but we're also to teach them to worship God and to love one another and not act as we are. And I'm going to repeat what I keep saying that Martin Luther King said. This is not me, but Martin Luther King Jr. said about this, and especially for this Black Lives Matter and things such as this. You will not overcome evil with evil. You will not dispel darkness with darkness. It takes goodness to overcome evil. It takes righteousness and light to overcome darkness. And that's the way it's going to be. And if there are injustices being done, that is the way we ought to do it. Well, I'm running out of memory here, so until we meet again, God bless you.